started, I want to have a question for the audience. What would you like to learn from this session in the body language? Do you have specific questions or something that you always thought, Mark, I want to know, what does this mean? Yes?
With me, I'm a hand talker.
Okay.
So, and when you close your arm like this, they say you're closing people out. That's wrong. So
Okay.
how do you stand up and speak? What should you do with your hands?
That's a good question. Now, there's no right or wrong answer. Every time you come on stage, you become, and I know there's some dictatorship, so I'm gonna sanitize my presentation. Every time you come on stage, you become naked. You become vulnerable. And what we as humans are taught to do from very early childhood is to protect ourselves, because we need to survive. But every time you come on stage, you expose yourself in a way that, because the audience wants to know who you are, they want to see the true story of, what is your name?
Javasia.
Javasia. They want to know what makes you, what kind of emotions you experience, what is the story you have. Now, if this is this type of hand gesture, where you have this type of gesture right here, where you have a gesture like this, one of my personal favorite, when you do the spider, the push-ups in the mirror. Whatever works for you, that is your gesture. But I just want to mention one thing. When you get on stage, what is your objective? Do you have a gift that you want to share with your audience, or do you feel closed off? That is number one. Because if your objective is to be open, to share who you are, your body will find a way to make sure your message is communicated the right way. If your speech calls for having this gesture, or even have this gesture, if that's part of your message, go with it. Because you need to be who you are. Now, we have seen, and there's a lot of different misconceptions about body language, and everyone is an expert. Because remember I said everyone is an expert in the beginning? So you have your own opinion. Yes, it is true. When you try to close yourself off or make yourself smaller, your impact decreases. So think about that. So thank you. Any other questions about body language in context of public speaking and leadership? Then we can just get started right away. Yes?
Can you find out if somebody's lying to you? It's body language.
That's right. You know, I'm 37 years old, and I still don't know if somebody's lying to me. I'm still trying to figure it out every day. You see, it's very difficult to understand when the other person is lying to you or not. That is not my focus. My focus is about effective communication through body language, connecting with people in the audience, and make sure that you are congruent with your words and your body gestures. Now,
I'm 42 years old.
Yeah, well, you know, I live in Winter Haven, Florida. I think when I come here, you become younger. So I drove up this morning. I don't know if you can tell if somebody's lying or not. That is not my area of expertise. We can talk face-to-face afterwards this session, and I can point you to different resources that I think are excellent and you can study upon. But one of the things I do want to mention is when you meet someone for the first time, it's very difficult to see what are they thinking. Maybe they have different abilities, different perception, different life experiences. You don't know anything. But over time, you see their baseline, and then if there's any deviations from the baseline, then you can make an adjustment how you interact with them. But even when you know all of that, you still can be wrong. It's very difficult. It's very difficult. Okay, I hope that helps you. All right, let's do a couple more questions. I know you have questions about body language. Yes, wonderful woman here. Yes.
Number 5 on the evaluation? Okay.
Yes, please. 5 times 2.
So, what are your tips for speaking to a large audience versus speaking to a small audience?
Yes.
And what would you consider to be a small number of an audience? Like, let's make it easy. Let's say, how would you change your body language for speaking to 10 people versus speaking 100?
Okay.
You know?
All right. That's an excellent question. Now, are you an aspiring public speaker? Are you a leader?
I am.
Okay. Now, as a speaker, one of the first things you have to do is know your venue. Okay. So you come to whatever you schedule to speak. Are you going to speak in front of 2,000 people? 100 people? Have you spoken there before? Now, this is microphone. You can hear me well, and you can see me here, right? One of the things that I have learned in the past is I arrive normally early, and actually I sit at different places in the audience, and I see how the speaker appears while walking or standing, and then I take a note, mental note, and then I see, okay, do I like it? Do I don't like it? So I actually do a lot of preparation. If I cannot make it there, then I see if the meeting planner can show me or at least send me some paperwork or photographs, what is the room gonna look like. There's many different techniques. One of the things that I have learned for myself is, doesn't matter the audience size, is what is your objective? What are you there to do? And for me, number one is always to give a gift. It is not, you see, I believe all public speaking is an energy exchange between the speaker and the audience. And the way you manage your energy is how the audience is going to perceive it. Now, it doesn't matter if it's 10 or 2,000. I do want to tell you, I did compete in the World Championship of Public Speaking last year in 2015 in Las Vegas, Nevada from District 84. It was a blessing. And I do want to tell you, when you compete at a larger stage, when you see 2,000, 5,000, anywhere in between, your eyes cannot see beyond the first 2 rows. You just cannot. All you see is just, not darkness, but you just see people in the dark somewhere out there. You hear them, they respond to you in laughter, but you don't really know. So it's like this big collective unconscious. So what I have found, I focus on the people in the front row. I look them in the eye, and hopefully we have some exchange going on that I can connect with them. So number one is be open. It's a gift. Every time you come in on stage, you exchange energy. Be open to present who you are and your message. And then, because you cannot focus with everyone on a large scale, see if you can just focus on the people on the front row. The other thing I do want to share with you as well is, how many people here heard about mirror neurons? No? Yes? Mirror neurons. Well, okay, well, I'll tell you. That's all right. That's not a big deal. Mirror neurons is a special neural network that exists inside your brain. And it allows us to see and feel vicariously what the other person is thinking or feeling or portraying on stage. So one of the things that I have found before is, let's say I come to William or this wonderful group of women here, and I talk to them and I look them straight in the eye. Now, because you see me looking at you, what is your name?
Mary.
Mary. So Mary and I were looking each other in the eye. Vicariously, you looking at us, in the back of your head, you are experiencing the same emotion. You are experiencing as I'm looking at you, because there's no way I can look at everyone. But I just pick someone who's friendly, who smiles, and I just talk to them. And you have to work the room. Sometimes you have to go deep inside, but not to show too much of your back. And you just have to do as much preparation as you possibly can. Because at the end of the day, I think as a leader, you have to connect. And every time you take a stage as a public speaker, there's 2 things you have to think about. You become a leader, and you have a promise, and you have a responsibility. Now, responsibility is that at the end of the talk, you have moved your audience to a different plane of thinking. You have changed their life in some way. And then responsibility is you have to have platform skills. You have to know how you look, how you sound, and you have to do it rehearse. Because every time you come on stage, people give you their time. They'll never get it back. 18 minutes, an hour. So you have to be the best that you possibly can. And you see, I record myself every time on audio, video. I have over 200 recorded speeches on YouTube and in other databases that I watch over and over and over again. And not only that, I actually send them to my friends and strangers and everyone in the world so they can tell me what it is. Also, YouTube has this analytics feature that will show you when your audience abandons your video. So you think, oh, you know what? I gotta go back and I gotta record this and I gotta do this again. Because that is amazing. That is amazing. Okay, let's do a couple more questions and we'll jump into the content. Here, sir, and then for you, Grace, yes.
I know that when I give speeches, one of the couple things I'm always cognizant of is the hands, because I tend to use my hands a lot when I speak, and eye contact.
Yes.
But what other things might I not be aware of that is also part of the body language that is happening?
Great question. I love it. Okay. So remember what I said in the beginning? Your hands tell your story. Your gestures. Do you know that you gesture just a millisecond earlier before you speak? Just a little bit. So your gestures actually lead to what you're trying to say. Now, is that one of your strengths, you believe? your gestures? Does that add value to your speeches? You believe in your heart?
If I did so, yeah, it would.
Okay.
But sometimes I forget that maybe some of the gestures could help with the speech. So I tend to end up using the hands. I try not to cross them. But
Okay.
I know I see other speakers and it seems like they're not as rigid.
Okay. All right. How many people here have seen TED Talks? I will answer this question. Okay. And in this way. How many people read the book Talk Like TED by Carmine Gallo? He wrote a few others. I recommend it. It's a good story. You have as well. Okay. I recommend it. It's
Talk Like That?
Talk Like TED, Carmine Gallo. It's several chapters, and he goes deep into the content analysis, body dynamics of speakers who speak at TED. One of the stories that he used was by Amanda Palmer. Amanda Palmer is a rock musician from Boston, and she was a mime that she stood for hours outside and with pigeons and people poking at her and trying to get her to move. And then she had a rock band, and then she asked to give a TED Talk. Now, when she prepared for her TED Talk, she took her material and she took it all over her realm. She went to bars, yoga studios, college universities, everywhere, parties. Sometimes she tells a story where she sits at the bar and she said, you know what, can I tell you my story? And then she just goes with it. And whatever it is, that was part of her preparation. Another example in that book was by Renee Brown. How many times do you think she prepared for her speech? For 18 minutes, time that she took on stage at TED Talk. How many times do you think that she did entire speech from start to finish? 2 times? 20, 15? In one day? Total?
You didn't say in one day.
Wow, that's why we gotta be creative. You don't have to think what I said.
From developing it to presenting it.
That's right. I don't want to prime you. I will just ask the question and you just go up and you tell me. Excellent. No, it's not 15. A little more. How many times do you think she practiced her speaking? 5-0. Is that right? Oh, no, a little more. A little. Come on, it's TED Talk. This is the video going to live in perpetuity for your grandchildren. You got to do the best you can. Okay, it's more than 15.
200.
200 times.
That's a lot of times.
Power of vulnerability. 200 times. Now, your question is, okay, see, in your head, a lot of times it's actually worse than you really think it is. Okay? A lot of times. It's true. When you watch yourself on video, and professionally or amateur, you see that you're actually pretty good. But in your head, sometimes you're too close to your own content. It's very difficult to separate yourself from what you're doing. Now, what we can learn from Talk Like TED and from these other presenters is they were relentless in their rehearsal, in their presentation. Everywhere they could, they were practicing. And it just, see, the more you practice, the more fluid you become versus rigid. Because you internalize, you become your speech, you become the gestures. But you need coaches. You need someone who is peers who are in the business, who can actually elevate you to the next level of performance. The more you do it, the better you'll get. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yes, Grace, and this one. Okay.
So, with rehearsal,
Yes.
maybe you touched on that in the last question. You obviously know your speeches very well. You've practiced them, you're obviously experienced. For people that are beginning their speech adventure,
Yes.
when they rehearse too much, it can become more rigid. It becomes fake, almost. Like they're not connecting with the audience because they practice their words so much. Their sentence is structured. Your Q&A here is very loose, very fitting.
Yes.
You're obviously an expert on body language.
Right.
But for someone who's just beginning their presentations, how do they rehearse without becoming this fake, theatrical? Would you have any tips on how they can practice in a way to prevent that?
Thank you, Grace. I will answer this question. Excellent question, by the way. How many professional speakers we have in the room? Professional who get paid? Okay, yes. Maybe you can chime in on that. You as well? All right. When you have, I don't know, you approach your business different. Everyone is different. They have, different topics. And maybe it's one speech you give all the time. Or maybe it's 2 or 3 speeches you modify based on time. Now, when you give your speech over and over and over again, if you're not having any fun or fabulous time giving it, audience will not have either. This is what I have found in my practice. Whatever the speech is, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 50 minutes, I break it apart. I break it apart. And so this week I know that on August 13th, I'm going to be presenting in Jacksonville at this location. And I know I need to have my closing so strong that people are like, this is the best speech ever. So what I focus on is just the ending. And for a week, I just focus on the closing. I just focus on the closing. So it's the method that I'm working on. It's called Franken speech. So you break the speech in different pieces and you just work. In order to have a masterpiece, you have to master the pieces. And then you just work with those and then you glue it together. Now, one of the things as a professional speaker, it's not that you just show up and you give your speech and go home. No. You actually go in the cafeteria and you talk to people and you sit down and you get to know them. Okay, what are you thinking about? What are your frustrations? Where are you from? And you just make friends as quickly as you can. And then hopefully, if you can make it in a smooth and fluid manner, you take the input from the people you met at that day or the few days before, you put it in a speech and you keep going. And then after the speech is over, you stick around. You stick around to answer questions. Because it's all about connection. It is, what is your mindset? Do I want to give the best I have, or am I going to hold back? So yes, you call ahead and then maybe get numbers or emails from people and you incorporate their story into your speech. That way, your skeleton still remains what it is, but you just use the fresh material. It's a lot of work, but it's worth it. Did I answer your question? Okay, and then we'll go on with the content.
How many times did you practice today's speech and the speech?
Have I given the speech before? Yes, I have a few times. But this speech is part of my portfolio. I gave this speech first time 2 years ago, and I have it in the back of my mind, and I'm getting invited to different places in the community and where I, for my job. And that's where I give the speech, but I don't give an entire speech, I just give pieces because timing is an issue. They only have 5 minutes. How many of you have heard of Pikachuka or Pikachucha? Pikachucha, yes. That's right, thank you. So this speech, I have different versions of it. So I have it for Pikachucha, thank you. Mm-hmm. So it's 20 seconds per slide, it's 7 minutes. You have to go quick. So I know this in and out. And then it depends. Because this speech is actually my product. So I can actually take this to entrepreneurs, hospitality industry, whatever I need, I customize it for the audience. I practice a lot. People who live with me, they don't like me anymore. Because I keep talking in my bedroom. I live with them too. So that's it. Yes, so that's the one more question, we'll keep going.
How do you own your presence through body language without appearing to be arrogant? I'm in 2 positions, customer specialist and in sales in my own business. So when I approach a person, how do I own that presence, whether it's on stage or in the office, where I don't appear so arrogant?
I think this is a question you have to answer for yourself, number one. And do you have a benefit of 360 evaluation from your mentors and coaches who can show you, say, okay, this is what we see over and over again in you. And once you have that kind of benefit, you see for patterns. Okay, this is what it is. I didn't feel that this is how I was showing up, but you need a network of mentors who can actually tell you the truth. And if you don't have that, have a video. And then on video, because how many people actually record themselves? And actually watch it too. You watch it yourself? Yes, you watch yourself.
I hate my voice.
All right. Well, your words create your reality, so you say what it is. That's what it is. So I'm just saying. Think about it. Okay. It's true. I understand what you're saying. I hate to see myself. It's insufferable. But you watch it. I have over 200 videos here, and I showed it to William, and you see it again and again and again. Because remember what I said, all public speaking, in my understanding, is energy exchange between you and the audience. And sometimes in the middle of your speech, you're going so high, and then you drop. That's the low energy, and you see it because the audience doesn't support you, or you get a connection. The audience really want the speaker to succeed. They really want somebody who's up here, who's credible, who's qualified. Don't you want me to succeed? Yeah. Yes?
Yeah.
All right. Good, thank you. So you want me to do well. So to answer your question, just want to make sure that I answer it correctly. For me, before you go to any meeting, any interaction, any space you're going to speak, ask yourself, this is the 3 O's I want to share with you that I have developed. Okay, O number 1 is, are you open? Is your heart open? Are you going to have a dialogue versus a monologue? Even right now, when you give a speech, it's a dialogue. Why is it a dialogue? Because, it's dialogue. Yeah, we're talking, interacting. But also you can do dialogue through pauses. When you give a speech, you pause and you allow the audience to catch up. That's dialogue as well. So number 1, O is open. Is your heart open? Are you open? Are you open to communicate and connect? Number 2 is, what is your objective? What do I want out of this interaction? And number 3, how many people here been to theater and seen actors? Have you seen actors that come on stage and they want something, they're going somewhere, they want to achieve something, is that right? And you just cannot take your eyes off them. Have you ever seen that experience in your life? I have. Why is that? Because they have some kind of emotion that they have identified and felt right before they went on stage. And I call this off-stage beat. So whatever, any meeting you go to, are you open? What is your objective? And your off-stage beat. And that will help you gradually achieve the present that you're going after. But you need that feedback. That's the only way you can get better. Does that help you? Okay. All right. How much time we have? You have a question?
How important it is to write your speech into a person of practicing too much time? Because that is, I never know, I've spoken over 67 times, I never finished it. I have bullet points
Okay.
that I want to cover,
Mhm.
and I miss, but even when I do that, very seldom will I look at it.
Okay.
I just,
So your question is, how do you write?
yes, like, it's like how important is it? Because
Okay.
I don't have to, I don't want to,
Okay.
but how important it is to keep.
All right. How many people write their speeches out before they talk? Okay. You write it out completely, word for word. And how many people actually just wing it? Just like bullet points or mind mapping? And the rest in between? Okay. Thank you for that question. What is your name?
Latrice,
Latricia. Thank you. You look wonderful. That's interesting whole time. I love it.
thank you.
If you noticed, English is not my first language. Have you noticed that?
Yes.
Okay. Just want to be clear. So for me, grammar, syntax, pacing, rhythm of speeches is paramount. Just the way you say the word can make or break the speech. Knowing that, to be honest with you, as a speaker, I joined multiple writers groups, writing groups. And I go, like week after week, week after week. And what I do, I present speeches and stories and nonfiction and fiction things that I'm working on. And I'm very blessed. And I give it to this professor of literature, and she's very generous. And she reads it to everyone, and we go through it. I don't necessarily like to do that, but I know that because none of us are as smart as all of us. So there's people who know the grammar, they know the syntax, they know the slang, they know the way that the English language works and how it slips on your tongue. I rely to them. Because if I didn't do that, my speeches wouldn't be as powerful. But I recognize my own limitation. So I actually push myself to the edge of my ability of writing. And I submit those writings to those groups, and they help me. And also I have meetups, and also I send out to the blog, and then take feedback. That's what it is. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Or if that doesn't work for you, just do whatever works for you.
It's like, I want to get better.
Yes.
That's why I'm here for the training today.
Okay.
So I can be a leader in Toastmasters at this time.
Okay.
But I'm already working towards that even now.
Okay.
And so anything that I can take and apply it to
Mhm.
make me better at what I'm going to do, and not stay with writing, I want to see if it's going to help me go to that next level.
See, I believe nothing great is achieved alone. You cannot get where you want to go by yourself. Maybe you can. I know I cannot. So what it is, I am humble enough to recognize my own weaknesses, my strength, and what I need to work on. and I say, okay, this is what I'm working on. Here it is. Go ahead, cut me. Don't cut me too much. It's like a little baby. Because every time you write a speech or something, it's like your little baby. For me. And when somebody cuts your baby, how do you feel? I feel bad. I mean, I cry sometimes when somebody cuts my baby. But I get over it. So you take it, you give it away. You give it away and you see for patterns. Because at the end of the day, it's you who's the driver, who makes the message. But you still need help, maybe because it will change the trajectory of the entire speech and the message. It helps? All right.